Shalom Mashpaka. Today I want to get into something that is going to be shared with a lot of people. I want it to be very clear that anyone that has a calendar right now and thinks that it is right, they are wrong. We do not have the correct calendar or mu'adim, appointed times, as of right now. I want to get into specifically what the stars are for, and that the idea that we have the stars just for navigation alone is false. But first, let's get into some verses so we can have an understanding of where I'm coming from, that the stars are used in the appointed times, the calendar as we know it. Okay, so we're going to head over into the Yah scriptures. We're in Chanukah, and I am in chapter 74, and we're going to come down to verse 12 in the Yah scriptures. And it says, "And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single yom, a single day, unto everlasting, but complete the years with perfect justice and 364 days." Something I would like to point out, Mashpaka, is that these scriptures where they are getting the apocryphal books or hidden books, where are they getting their source text from, matter. So we need to make sure that when we are reading these apocryphal books, that we know that they are getting credible texts that they are transliterating from into English. Where are their source texts from? Who is attributed to being the scribe for that text? What time did it come from? All these things matter when they use correct words. Let me show you why. I am in Chanukah, chapter 74, in the Sefer. And in the Sefer, it's using a different source text that it's basing its verses off of. I'm going to read from chapter 74, verse 11 onward. "At those times there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun, and 5 years, and all the days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days, and to the sun and stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, 30 days belonging to them, so that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and the stars." And then we are in the exact verse that is being used in the Yah scriptures as verse 12, chapter 74, verse 12, is now in the Sefer, chapter 74, verse 13. "The moon brings on all the years exactly, that their stations may come neither too far nor too backwards, a single yom, a single day, but that the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days, yumim. And 3 years the days are 1,092, and 5 years they are 1,820, in 8 years 2,912 days." So Mashpaka, the calendar as a whole is a very difficult thing to understand. Let it be known that it is possible for us to figure out when it is appointed to us to be able to figure it out. It might not be the time that the Arats, the earth, the world as we know it, the Tabal, is not at the point of understanding these things yet. We need to come to the Amat, the truth of scriptures, attributed names, attributed teachings, and carrying out the commands. We need to get to a point before we skip to something as having the correct muadim, or appointed times, the calendar. Now, Mashpaka, Here is some videos that I found that can kind of bring up the idea of what we should be looking for when understanding how the stars are for appointed times. They are not just for navigations, okay? We need to figure out which text is true, the source text. I believe that the Sefer is using Ethiopian text as its source text for the Apocrypha. But as far as the Yah scriptures, I do not know what they use. So we would need to first get the false scriptures, the false texts out. Then have the correct scriptures. That way we know what are our guidelines for this. But as far as learning of what the stars are for, here's some info on it.
Use the stars to tell the time. Using the North Star, Polaris, the Big Dipper, and some simple math, you can get a rough idea of what time it is. Finding the Big Dipper is pretty easy. It is in the northern sky and looks like a spoon. Once you find it, drawing an imaginary line between the two stars at the end of the Big Dipper will help you find Polaris, which is also in the tail of the Little Dipper. The imaginary line between the Big Dipper and Polaris will serve as the hour hand for a 24-hour counterclockwise clock you'll imagine to tell the time. In this example, the hour hand is at 17. To find the time, take 17 and subtract 2 times the number of months since March 6th. If it's daylight saving time, add 1 to your final answer. Finally, if your answer is negative, subtract it from 24 so you have the time in the 24-hour format.
So Mashpaka, this is news to very much a lot of people that the stars are actually able to calculate time and dates as well. Think about it, Mashpaka. How did people calculate time as it went through the night? Being that the sundial was created, so we had the solar used to create shadows on a sundial, and we could tell time during the yom, the day, like that. But during the night, how would we calculate time? Therefore, the stars were used to calculate times. Here is another video that also gives some better views of how it is done. Check it out. So Mashpaka, there is very much a clock in the sky that uses the stars, and can be used to look up, called a star clock or stellar clocks. So there you have it. That is a short video of me explaining that the stars are used in a lot more ways than just navigation, and are used in scriptures for the mu'adim, the appointed times. And we need to be doing more research about them in the book of Chanukh, so we can get the right information and calculate time correctly. That is all, Mashpaka. Ahaba'u Shalom.